Imagine with me, you're 17 years old, you're going to your senior prom with your friends. You have a big flashy limo, you're having the time of your life. You get there, you eat dinner, you have cake, and as that last bite of cake grazes your lips, it dawns on you. You have forgotten to bring your insulin from home. Your blood sugar is rising, and it is rising fast. Now, many of you may be lucky enough to never have to experience this situation, but all of you can relate and sympathize with the severity of the situation. This is a very true story. This is my personal recollection of my senior prom, and unfortunately, it is also the beginning of my very long and difficult journey in gaining control over my diabetes and in gaining freedom from my disease. The very first step that I took in doing so was choosing an insulin pump and learning how to implement myself with an insulin pump site. So my goal for you today is to teach you how to implement an insulin pump site on your own person and in turn gain control of your disease and implement freedom in your life from your disease. Now you've already done the most important part. You've chosen a Tandem t:slim insulin pump, or else you wouldn't be sitting here in front of me today. So instead, let's talk about the equipment that you will need. Now, normally you would have a vial of insulin and you would have a syringe. However, for safety reasons, we have already filled the reservoir that you will need with 250 units of Humalog insulin, and we have attached it to your Tandem t:slim insulin pump site. You will also need your Tandem t:slim insulin pump. But before we get into the steps of how to perfectly implement your pump site, let's take that little first step towards freedom and talk about the areas that we want and recommend you to put your insulin pump sites. The first being your lower stomach, the second being your hips, and the third being your thighs. The most important rule to remember with these areas is rotation. Rotation is key in avoiding scar tissue. It is something very real and avoidable should you heed my warning and rotate before implementing your new site. That being said, your very first step in implementing your actual pump site is choosing your site. For myself, I'll say that I'm choosing the right side of my lower stomach today. You will take a cotton ball and rubbing alcohol and you will clean that site. One, as far as making sure there's no infection, but two, for longevity of the actual site. Once your site is chosen and clean, you will take your Tandem t:slim insulin pump and you will press the power button at the very top of that pump. All of your pumps are equipped with a 1, 2, 3 unlock code that you will press, and you will press options at the bottom of your pump menu. You will press load, which is the second button, and then you will press change cartridge. Now, your pump will ask you, are you ready to change your pump site and are you disconnected? And to which you will press that blue check mark and say yes. It will then ask you, do you have a full reservoir ready to put inside the pump? And at which point you will press the blue check mark and say yes. Now, the reservoir that we have preloaded for you will then be placed into the very bottom of this pump. You will wait to hear a click. That click will be your indication that you are locked, loaded, and ready to start feeding insulin into your tubing. Afterwards, you will press this blue button at the top right and a check mark saying that you are ready to feed insulin through your pump. Once it is feeding insulin through your pump, your goal is to see 3 drops of insulin at the bottom of your needle in your site. Once you see your 3 drops, you will then communicate to your pump by pressing again a blue arrow that you are in fact ready to implement your site. You will draw back the plunger that is on the bottom of your site. You will unravel the sticky paper that is on top of your site, and you will pull off the catheter cap on top of the needle. You will notice that there are 2 areas for fingers. Your thumb and your middle finger are going to be your best bet. You will place that against your skin on the recommended site, and when you feel comfortable, you will press both fingers down at the same time. This will leave in a catheter in your stomach, and you will then pull out and remove the needle and dispense it into a sharps bin. Once you are done with all of that, your last step is to grab your pump. You will press your power button again, and more than likely it will make you unlock it once more. Your final step is to say, okay, I am ready to resume insulin and continue my pump. You've just taken your first step towards freedom. Congratulations. It is a big step, but you're also in a precarious situation to make what we lovingly and jokingly call diabuddies. Communication is key, and I implore you to exchange numbers, be each other's sounding boards, and give advice to one another. Diabetes is what you have, but it is not who you are. So take control of your life. Take control of your disease, and take control of your freedom. And more than anything, take this leap with me into not just the future, but your future. And remember, more than anything, that you are not alone. Thank you.